Good afternoon and welcome to a conversation with the President on Energy and Economic Impact. My name is Jennifer Battle. I'm with the Office of Campus Sustainability, and I'm very glad that you could all make it today. And for those who are viewing online, we appreciate you tuning in. Our intent of this program was to really talk about and share what MSU is doing in the areas of energy and show the impact that it has not only on campus but broadly around the state. And we also wanted to provide an opportunity for the community to ask questions and for us to provide answers to you. We also want to keep the conversation going. This is, we hope, one of many opportunities we have to share what Michigan State is doing. And I would encourage you to go to energytransition.msu.edu, and there's a place where you can sign up to get additional energy information about the university. The format today, we're going to have a brief remarks from our panelists, followed by a question and answer session. We have received questions that were submitted in advance. We're also taking questions from Twitter. Use hashtag MSUEnergy. And we'll also take questions from the audience, and in your folders you've received cards. So as you have questions, just write them down and pass them to folks who will be on the aisles. If we cannot get to your question during the event, we will provide the question and answer on energytransition.msu.edu after the event. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panel that we have today. First, to my left is Dr. Luanna K. Simon. She was appointed the 20th president of Michigan State University by the Board of Trustees in January 2005. As president, Simon has engaged Michigan State University in a strategic and transformative journey to adapt the principles of the land-grant tradition to 21st century challenges. She has expanded MSU's reach in the state and around the world by focusing the university's strengths on solutions that enhance and protect the quality of life: clean energy, clean and affordable energy, access to education, safe and plentiful food, and health care. Next to Dr. Simon is Mr. Gil Sperling, and he currently serves as a senior policy advisor for the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy at the U.S. Department of Energy. Prior to that, he served as program manager for the Office of Weatherization and Intergovernmental Programs at DOE with a budget in excess of $11.6 billion. Currently, Mr. Sperling has been working with the Better Buildings Challenge, among other programs, of which Michigan State University is a partner. Next to Mr. Sperling, we have our very own Miss Linda Boomer. She's MSU's energy and environmental engineer, and her current position for campus involves a wide variety of duties, including leading several sub-teams regarding energy conservation, a utility smart metering upgrade project for campus, coordinating with building retro commission teams to complete a 5-year commissioning plan of over 100 facilities on campus. And Linda also developed the baseline carbon dioxide emissions inventory for campus. And finally, we have Mr. Paul Coops. He's an associate and senior mechanical engineer for Fishbeck, Thompson, Carr, and Huber. And they are a professional civil engineering, environmental, architectural engineering, and construction services consulting firm with offices in Grand Rapids, Lansing, Farmington Hills, and Kalamazoo, Michigan, and also Cincinnati, Ohio. Mr. Coops has worked extensively in the field, testing and commissioning all varieties of mechanical systems, such as exhaust systems, heating and cooling systems, temperature control systems, and clean room and process systems. So thank you to the panel for being here, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to President Simon.
Well, again, thank you. This is really a very important conversation, not simply for today, but for many years to come, as we as a university, as our country, as the world deals with some of the wicked problems, which include energy and the intersection of that and our economic vitality, our energy security. So we are pleased that Michigan State is at the forefront of a discussion, not simply to say we must do something, but to have a plan, a transition plan that holds us accountable for how we do things, and also for making sure that we build research and education programs around our energy programs in ways that the university can indeed be a demonstration project in the spirit of the land-grant universities as one looks at these very, very difficult problems. We recognize that in the energy transition plan that was approved by the board last Friday, there are no easy solutions. It is a plan that has a very complex modeling dimension to it, that tries to hold us accountable for doing energy conservation, at the same time introducing new energy technology into the environment, our environment, in ways that reduce our reliance on coal, and to do all that in a way that also keeps our costs to our students down. And that, it's not any one of those individually that is the challenge, and there are clearly challenges, but putting all of those factors together and having a comprehensive, dynamic plan, a living plan that I'm sure will be different in 5 years than it is today, maybe even different next year than it is today. We also want to be sure that as we think about the basic elements of recycling, of the way in which we use food waste, our animal waste for the anaerobic digester that the board also approved last Friday, that we try these new kinds of technologies. The laboratories are rich with these ideas, including some ideas about thermal storage, which is one of the big issues. You think about wind or wind energy, the work we've done with the Land Policy Institute about thinking about wind energy for this state, how best to think about that, not simply to say we should do it, but how best to think about that. The work of the power plant. The power plant is already very efficient. It's a cogeneration plant, so it's not simply about electricity. It's about producing steam for very, very efficient heat. The coefficients for cogeneration are very strong, and I'm sure that Linda can talk to you about all of those numbers. But it is important that we think about those in ways that, again, are not isolated, but are always part of a system. So it's not simply to have clean electricity. Is to have an environment where we reduce our footprint through all of these technologies. We're really pleased to be part of the Better Building Challenge. It really provides us an opportunity to be very aggressive. Our targets are 20% reduction over 2 million square feet. And Linda will talk with you about that as well. Very, very aggressive targets as we think about our built environment and what we can do collectively for that built environment. So this is just a very exciting time to take what is a very cutting-edge research that will be necessary to propel this forward, recognizing that we do have a coal legacy. We're not the only place, but if we use this, our research wisely, our education wisely, we'll be able to be a model for how to deal with that legacy in a very effective way. Finally, I want to commend our students who have been actively involved in this discussion. We may not always agree, but they have helped us set aggressive targets. They will be also part of the solution as they work on projects during the year in the laboratory, in our sustainability initiative within our neighborhoods, to be able to refine this plan in ways that they will then become citizens of a global society that are very savvy about energy. So it really is a pleasure to have this conversation. Gil, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, President Simon. And I think what you said sums up all the reasons I'm here. I'm happy to be here today. I'm absolutely thrilled to be on campus. The Better Buildings Challenge is a presidential initiative. This is something President Obama is hands-on engaged. So I'm happy to be here on behalf of President Obama, on behalf of Secretary Chu, on behalf of Assistant Secretary Danielson. The transition to a clean energy economy is not just about economics and technology. It is more about people. It is about culture. We have lived in a culture where the bigger you build it, the better. And we have had a culture that has not paid much attention. When you think of our existing buildings, as you mentioned, 72% of all the electricity we consume in the country is consumed in buildings. 40% of primary energy use is consumed in buildings. More than 40% of greenhouse gases derive from the use of energy in buildings. So trying to move the existing building stock into efficiency and into conservation is an enormous challenge. It requires leadership. And so what you're doing, President Simon, here at Michigan State University, and I applaud you, is that combination of the right program, the right policy, the right transition, the right amount of investment, looking at the cost factors, and becoming a leader. My job at DOE is a simple job, although it's a hard job to accomplish. I can simply define it. It is to move the building stock into the marketplace for efficiency so that we're not doing presidential challenges, we're not doing incentives and rebates, but this becomes a core part of the business economy. This becomes a matter of business survival in order to compete with all the competition in the marketplace. Moving into the marketplace means that this becomes a matter of Wall Street. not just of academics and policy thinkers like myself in government or in other institutions, but this has to be something where Wall Street's actively engaged. The good news is, from the time I've been spending on Wall Street in the last 2 years, is there are trillions of dollars that are willing to be and ready to be invested. And the Secretary of Energy summed this up pretty well the other day. He is a scientist, a Nobel laureate, as most of you probably know, brilliant scientist, and he is focused. We are the world's largest research organization, so he is focused on science. But he gave a speech the other day, and he said, as important as the technological advancements may be, equally important, if not more important, is getting the right business models. So I love coming to universities, not just to talk about the plant, not just talk about an energy plan, but to talk to the dean of the business school, to talk to policy, to talk to the university presidents. I try to get to as many universities as I can around the country, because the more we can take a holistic approach, not just the facilities on campus, but the curriculum, the outreach to the community, how you work with the state. The state of Michigan has been a leader in energy and development of renewable technologies and energy efficiency for a long time, and we'd like to see that leadership continue. So that's why I'm here. I'm very happy to be here. I congratulate you for what you're doing. And one thing about the Better Buildings Challenge that makes it a little bit different than some of the other types of challenge initiatives you've heard is the accountability. So the school will be submitting to the Department of Energy a plan for how it expects to achieve a 20% reduction by 2020. It will be reporting, not just summary reporting of data and investment, but actual numbers. How many kilowatt hours, how many therms, what the usage of fuel, what the supply was. We're going to look at the cost of the measures that are installed. Because one of the things the Better Buildings Challenge has brought out across the country is the leadership. And it is those first and early adopters in the commercial building space, in commercial, university, and government space, that are going to pave the way for, as I've said, that Wall Street investment and for that market reality to take place. So again, congratulations, thanks, happy to be here. I'm going to turn it over.
Thank you, Gil. We're very happy to be part of the Better Buildings Challenge. We're excited about it. Reducing 20% over 20 million square feet by 2020 is a huge challenge, and we have over 500 buildings on campus. It's a great opportunity for MSU to really showcase our energy conservation efforts we're already doing on campus and work with the other companies and universities to share ideas, share technologies. So it's a great opportunity for MSU. But where do we begin? How do we start? What we did, we worked with a company called Energy Strategies to develop building energy profiles. And that is a system where we took all the data about our buildings, the mechanical systems, what the construction is, the roofing, the windows, and we input this all into a database, how much energy they're consuming now, so that we could rank them and rate them. We came up with a ranking method to target the highest potential first. Where will we get the biggest bang for the buck? Which buildings should we target first? What this building profiling system did for us as well was we could look across the fleet of buildings and identify energy conservation measures that would apply in a number of buildings, and we could maybe get economies of scale by applying energy conservation projects across a number of buildings. So that was the first order of business, was to really target where are we going to spend our limited resources on energy conservation. Another effort on campus is commissioning, and we call it existing building commissioning. And I use the analogy, some folks don't like it, but the analogy of what commissioning is like keeping your car tuned up. If you keep your vehicle tuned up, the oil changed, the tires inflated to the proper pressure, and you drive that vehicle conservatively, you don't race it around, you're going to use less gas, you're going to use less energy. Same thing with our buildings. If we tune up our buildings, keep those mechanical systems working as efficiently as they can, and if the people in the buildings use the building conservatively with energy conservation in mind, we're going to use less energy. So we've got the commissioning program over 5 years to go in and meticulously measure and monitor all the mechanical and electrical systems in the building and make sure they're working as efficiently as they can. Another effort that's underway is new technologies. They've mentioned the importance of new technologies. I'm glad we're also mentioning that it's how people interact with their building and use those technologies. So technology is an important aspect. We're working with a company called Aircuity for air quality sensors in our labs. Labs use about 4 times the amount of energy as a typical office building. The reason for that is there's a lot of air flow through labs. We have to heat and cool that air, and that's for fume hoods. So if we can reduce the amount of air going through the research spaces, measure air quality, and keep a safe environment, we can conserve energy. That's a fairly new technology, new company out on the market. An example of how technologies change is we did a wind study on campus back in 2002. Jeff Andreessen, our local climatologist, did the wind study. And back then, it did not make economic sense. Large-scale wind turbines just didn't make economic sense on campus. We didn't have the wind capacity. And I like to carry my Michigan map around with me, and right here in the heart of Michigan, where we're located, we didn't have the wind capacity. It's along the lake, and it's in the thumb area. Since then, wind technology has changed. The lighter materials for blades, the gearing improvements, and installing those wind turbines, those large-scale wind turbines, higher above ground level. As you go higher above ground level, the wind speed increases. So technology has changed. We're doing a wind study on South Campus farms to see if it makes economic sense. I will say there's no technology that has zero environmental impact. We need to do environmental studies as well with wind technology for the local habitat to see how that impacts the birds and bats and things like that. So technology is an important piece. If you have an emerging technology that you would like to connect with us, there's a Business Connect or the Innovation Center, and I think there's someone in the audience today who's representing that. You can connect with our researchers. If it's an existing technology you think would fit with MSU, you can email me direct at boomer@msu.edu. So technology is an important piece, but the human factor and how people use energy is very important as well. Again, we're really excited about being part of the Better Buildings Challenge, and we look forward to meeting our commitment at 20% below by 2020 and 20 million square feet. That's a lot of 20s, but we're ready for the challenge. So right now I'd like to turn it over to Paul to talk about how they're helping us meet our challenge and what the impact is on their business.
Thank you, Linda. Hi, my name's Paul Coops. I'm a senior mechanical engineer with Fishbeck Thompson Carr & Huber, also known as FTC&H. And we're an architectural engineering firm, and we have about 300 staff working out of 4 offices here in Michigan. Headquarters in Grand Rapids, about 60 miles to the west. Our work divides fairly evenly between our 3 main divisions: civil engineering, environmental engineering, and architectural engineering, which that deals with building design and operation. What I'd like to do is just quickly describe the effects of the economic downturn on FTC&H, and then talk about energy projects at MSU, how they're helping us in the tough economy. They're helping us keep our people busy and employed, and also helping us develop work experience that is leading to future opportunities with other clients. Up through 2008, we've been experiencing steady growth, approximately 7% year by year in net consulting revenues. And then in 2008, the economic downturn hit us. As a result, the next 3 years averaged about 2% decrease in net consulting revenues each year. And less revenue equaled less opportunity for our staff. And as a result, we were compelled to cut staff, approximately 10% across the 3 main business areas. Both public and private sector work was down. However, our workload with universities and colleges has remained fairly steady. And our work at Michigan State University is an important part of that. The energy work with MSU has helped keep our people busy and employed through these tough economic times. I'll just give some examples of MSU energy projects that we've been privileged to work on. As mentioned, existing building commissioning at 3 buildings here on campus. Our work so far has progressed through the investigation phase of the existing building commissioning on the 3 projects. And together, the 3 projects generated enough work for our company and our subconsultant to keep 2 people employed and busy for a year. Still to be completed on these 3 projects is the second major phase of existing building commissioning, implementation. And implementation refers to the design and construction of the recommendations produced in the investigation phase. And for the design work, for the 3 projects, we're estimating that's enough work for the equivalent of 1 full-time employee for a year. And then following design comes the construction work. Estimated construction costs for the 3 buildings, approximately $2 million, which equals work for Michigan construction contractors. Now, keeping in mind that the numbers I just mentioned are just for the 3 projects FTC&H worked on, and that 85 additional existing building commissioning projects are slated to be completed over the next 4 years. It's easy to see that the MSU Existing Building Commissioning Initiative is a significant and meaningful contribution to private sector job creation. It's meaningful also in that it provides energy and operational savings for the university. Other type of projects we've been working on campus here are LEED projects. LEED being a voluntary rating system for green buildings. FTC&H was architect of record on 2 LEED projects here, the Chemistry Building Addition and the Surplus Recycle Building. Our LEED-related work on these projects included energy modeling and LEED administration. Notable in particular about the Surplus Recycle Building is the energy efficiency. The energy modeling predicted energy efficiency 30% better than minimum code required. And that energy efficiency went a long ways towards the building earning a LEED Gold certification. Notable also is that MSU is implementing a measurement and verification process to prove that the predicted energy savings are actually achieved. Now, for both the retro commissioning and the LEED work, a big benefit to FTC&H is the experience we can demonstrate to other potential clients. With the increasing interest in energy efficiency, we see existing building commissioning as a significantly expanding part of our business in the coming years. And we're spreading the word about what MSU is accomplishing with existing building commissioning. And this is generating a lot of interest from other potential clients. And right now at FTC&H, we're looking to add staff to handle the expected coming workload. And as far as our LEED work with MSU, our LEED-related experience here has already helped expand our business, not just in terms of dollars and cents, but also geographic area. Since 2008, we've been providing LEED services in Italy, including LEED administration, civil engineering, energy modeling, and commissioning. And our Italy work has been enough work to occupy 1 staff position from 2008 to 2011. And we're thankful to MSU for this, since the initial Italy work came to us based directly on a referral from MSU in 2007. We're involved in other ongoing energy work at MSU also, for example, new building commissioning and a campus-wide water saving study. So we're thankful to MSU for these opportunities, and thank you for the opportunity to participate here this afternoon.
Thank you. And thank you for your comments from all the panelists. And we'd like to open this up for questions. And I'll start with some of the questions that we received in advance, and we've already been getting a lot of questions via Twitter. The first question is for President Simon. And one of the questions is, it seems that many other institutions of higher education are particularly challenged with establishing a financial mechanism for supporting the implementation costs of sustainability programs such as the ones being addressed at MSU. Please address how this apparent obstacle can be overcome such that this type of work can be exercised more widely by others to increase the relevant business in Michigan.
Well, I think that, consistent with Gil's comments, we see this as a win-win in terms of the economy as well as our overall financial positioning. And when you begin to think about this simply as a social responsibility, not that that's a bad thing, you lose the capacity to sustain this work over a long period of time. So our model, the work that Kathy Lindahl initially has done, along with Fred Poston and really Jennifer, your work, included the assumption that we would not raise tuition in order to do this work. Because tuition is really one of the more sensitive issues if you're a public institution right now. And so how could we discipline ourselves to really be sure that savings went into new work that would in fact change the built environment, change our energy trajectory. And I think by this discipline and transparency and this very complicated model that will hold us accountable, that there are ways that the university can meet that obligation to our students and still be a model for energy security and sustainability. And to do that in ways that promote the economy by being able to work, as Linda said, with new companies who have ideas. We're so big most of the buildings that are in the challenge are relatively small amount of square feet. If you have a new product, we can plug it into a floor of a residence hall and test that out with our students and our staff and our faculty in a pretty quick way and have that economic benefit be tested. So we think we'll be a great demonstration site that will encourage us to partner with industry in ways that also benefit our students economically as well as educationally.
If I could just jump in on this in terms of the financing, since I am by background a transactional lawyer involved in the financing of all kinds of renewable and efficiency projects before I became a policy person at DOE. One of the things that we've been able to work with the market over the past 3 years is the development of new financing mechanisms. What's interesting about energy efficiency is that if you look at that 72% of electricity I mentioned consumed in buildings, and you realize that anywhere between 30 and 50% is wasted in most of those buildings, that means somebody's writing out a check every month for no productive energy. Nothing, they get nothing from it, and it simply is money out of the pocket. Where there's money left on the table, for a financial guy, there's room to finance. The good thing about energy efficiency technology is it all pays for itself. It's just a matter of how much time. What we find in both residential and commercial and somewhat industrial is a reluctance to use your own capital because that capital has competing demands. If there's anything tougher than trying to do a budget in Washington, it's the job that university presidents try to do within a university to set a budget because of all the competing demands. And it's very hard to take limited capital budgets and put that capital into energy efficiency in any coherent manner. So what's emerged in the past couple of years are a number of very innovative companies that now have stepped forward on a advanced payment model where essentially they will lay out the entire cost of capital. They will arrange the financing. They will enter into a transaction with the energy user, the building owner or operator, and they will begin to participate and work with through contractors such as yours, because none of them, these are all financial models, none of these people are engineers. And they will bring in the right people, and they will put the right new equipment in place, the right types of controls and measures, the right type of commissioning on a regular basis. And they will begin to manage the overall costs of the project and do so in a way that's profitable to their investors and also buys down the cost of financing to some of the lowest levels we've ever seen. There are also new models emerging out of government. The state of Delaware has implemented something called the Sustainable Energy Utility, successfully floated in excess of $50 million bond offering. The proceeds of the bond offering are now being used to retrofit state university, and state government buildings, and to do so at an average cost of about 3.5% or 4% interest. So that's even lower than energy savings and energy performance. So what we've seen in the past 3 years is a recognition of what the opportunity is and the financial opportunity. And it's part of the result of an economic downturn when people are not investing in property or not investing in new companies. That capital is looking for a place to go, and that capital is moving more into this area and developing innovative models that can help in that financing. So I'd love to work with you on those things.
We have the Bank of Poston, Vice President Poston up there, as we call him, and he's been very directly involved in our financial planning. The board has been terrific in looking at long-term financial modeling, because you have to do this in the long term, which is part of your message, and you have to be very disciplined and evidence-based and transparent about that evidence, which is what the plan does, whether you may like a short-term result or not, and really be persistent. And so we've been looking at all those models as well. So there are great opportunities for us as an organization, I think for the state and for the private sector to benefit from the capacity for Michigan State to embark on this pretty aggressive plan by most standards.
Okay, thank you. Next question, I'll give this to Linda Boomer. The question is, what types of renewable energy is Michigan State University considering? And if someone has ideas for renewable energy projects, how do they partner with you?
We're looking at geothermal as the nursing edition, life science edition, which is the BOT nursing edition. It will be our first geothermal field. Like I said, we're doing the wind feasibility study on South Campus. We've got a solar study going on. We've got 2 arrays, but we're looking at large-scale solar. Does it make sense, economic sense again for campus, and in what scale? We're also looking at thermal storage, because as we get into these renewable energies, they may be generating at a time when we don't need the energy, so how do we store that energy? So we also have a thermal storage study going on. So we're looking across all aspects, biomass, trying to find more sources for biomass, looking at every possibility. Again, if it's a new technology that is not fully developed, you can go to the Innovation Center. If it's something that's already developed, you can contact myself.
You want to talk about the plans to burn biomass in the plant?
Sure, right now we are burning biomass in the plant. We just were recently permitted to expand that up to 30% in one of our units and 5% in the other 3 units. We're looking for more sources of biomass so we can, and operationally testing how far can we go with that biomass and maintain reliability. That's a key at the power plant, is maintaining reliability. So we're currently burning biomass. Last year we burned about 1% on a BTU basis in our power plant.
And for those of you who don't know the campus or the BOT building, many places start with geothermal on a small scale. You may want to talk about how much, the size of the building, just so people know, Linda.
Sure. The nursing addition is, maybe Dan Bowman can help me out with square footage. He's in the audience. Do you know about 50,000 square feet? But the geothermal field itself takes up a lot of space. So geothermal is part of the answer. Again, we don't have any one single solution because on North Campus we're very compact and we don't really have the land area to do large-scale geothermal on North Campus. So what is it that we need to move to? Likely it's a portfolio of renewable options, not just one single renewable option, and it'll be different for different facilities and areas on campus.
Okay, along those, President Simon, this question is for you. How will the leaders be held accountable? And I believe the question is about energy transition plan. Do you feel that there is a commitment coming from the top down to make sure the energy transition goals will be achieved?
Well, I think when we started this process, it would have been easy, and Gil can comment on this because he's been around the country, to just make a pronouncement. Our participation in the Better Building Challenge assumes that we will meet identifiable benchmarks. It's not, again, say, gee whiz, we're going to make buildings more efficient. We have a responsibility to make that very precise, definable, and transparent, not only to the agency, but to our community. The same is true with the Energy Transition Plan. The metrics are there, the expectations are there. How we do it may change over time, but there's an intention to meet the goals of 25% renewables by 2025, which most would view as a pretty aggressive standard, and to move on in an effective way to look at emerging technologies so that we can meet even more aggressive goals going forward. And we're very transparent. The intent is to present an annual report card and to update the plan at least every 5 years to make sure that we're using the best technology. And we're a very public place. We may disagree, but we're still a very public place. Gil, you may want to comment about.
You are absolutely right, because this is an issue around the country. It starts with leadership. It has to come from the highest levels of any institution, an absolute commitment, and you've got that commitment from your Board of Trustees now, and you obviously personally have that commitment. But the way this works, and for it to work, is it has to be built into the entire structure, the entire management structure and implementation structure. That means people's performance has to be evaluated in terms of, are you hitting your targets, and why aren't you hitting your targets? Their compensation has to be linked to the targets. There has to be the right set of incentives built into the overall institution. You know, if you're a retail institution, if you're a Walmart or a JCPenney or a Sears, and many of which are participating in our program, people's performance pay is linked to the volume of sales. Well, when you link pay also to the amount of energy reduction, you get energy reduction. So when you build it into the very fabric of your institution, with strong leadership at the top that's committed, with long-term thinking and understanding as opposed to short-term publicity gain, then I think you're going to get this. And that's not easy to do. So again, you know, you're a model for us, which is why we're so happy and why I'm here.
Well, but also I would say Linda made a comment, and you may want to expand on it, about we really are testing the measurement techniques. Because this is an area where people pronounce in broad ways, and Gil and you all may want to comment on this, about what they're doing and what they're not doing. And there are some questions about what the measurements are like. The building challenge requires us to have clear and precise measurements that fit what will be progress in this arena, not fluff in terms of a PR sense. And we're doing some other things on our own to make sure that we're measuring things in a way that we can be accountable. Yeah. So.
Sure, definitely. We're expanding our smart metering program. We've got it on the web so people can see, but we're also working towards tying that so people understand the amount of energy they're using. Right now, the general fund folks, they don't pay for their utilities, so somehow tying that so there is some accountability. I don't want to lose my job over not making the 20% by 2020, so we're going to work hard toward doing that. And measurement is key. We've got an energy educator program where we have folks going out in our buildings and actually helping the people in the buildings understand the impact they have. Like you said, there's a lot of waste going on, and we've just kind of become accustomed to it here in the U.S. I've traveled recently abroad, and there's not as much waste abroad, I don't believe. Here in the U.S., we have a lot of waste. We really need to reduce that waste. The best kilowatt is one that's not used to begin with. Turn it off if you don't need it. So we need the campus community to really be involved with this conservation effort. It's not technology alone.
Yeah, measurement and verification is one of the absolute critical issues. You know, in a world in which most of the rest of the world is actively involved in carbon trading, and there are international protocols and standards for determining the amount of carbon reduction and the longevity of the carbon reduction. We're beginning to see the same ideas now. The U.S. is finally in a leadership role. We're working in a number of projects, both within our buildings program, working with our Office of Science, and then working with the Environmental Defense Fund and others on updating international standards for measurement and verification. How much energy you're using, how do you track that energy consumption, how do you determine that there actually has been a reduction in energy, how do you quantify what the value it is. I don't pretend to know anything about the technological aspects, being a lawyer by training, but I can tell you as a lawyer and somebody who does financing, I'm not going to finance a project that's predicated upon a 30% reduction in energy unless I've got a financeable means of measuring and verifying that energy use. So now we're being driven by the financial markets, which is, I think, a positive step forward.
Next question. We received quite a few questions, of course, about our power plant. And so, Linda, I'm going to give this to you, but feel free others to reply. When will the university retire the coal-burning plant on campus?
Oh, you're going to give that one to me? Okay.
She gave it to me. It's all yours.
It's all mine.
Everyone.
Well, again, we need to transition. I'll say that. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. We didn't get here in just 1 year. We're not going to transition away in 1 year. And technology changes all the time. We've got folks coming to us with ways to sequester the CO2 out of the flue gases. So we don't know what will happen in, another 5 years. We're moving in the right direction with the energy transition plan. We're moving towards renewables. That's the direction that we need to head. Power on campus is key for a lot of research. So reliability and keeping that power plant reliable is the heart of campus right now. We're moving in the right direction. I don't believe we're going to put a date out there, kind of like you said, President Simon. We could just put some date.
Beyond when I'm president,
beyond, okay. Or when I'm retired too, but it's a transition. It's not an overnight thing.
I would also say that last year, I think in terms of the energy that was expended in the power plant, only about 2/3 of it was coal-based. So we already are transitioning away from coal. That's sort of gotten lost in the shuffle. But this is a world problem in terms of the sources of energy. And for us, it's not simply, can we change the switch? We might be able to do it by charging students more and going to natural gas, but that's not the solution in the long run for the country nor for the world in terms of all the dynamics we're dealing with. And we want to be a part of the solution for the world, not simply say, gee whiz, what Michigan State has done regardless of the cost. And so this coal issue has got to be something that really is dealt with in a very sophisticated way, and in a way that recognizes our responsibility as an institution, but also our responsibility to make a difference around the globe. And Gil, you may have a view about coal.
Well, the president has made clear in the numerous speeches he gives on energy, and I'm very happy to say we have a president who understands this issue and talks quite articulately about it. But this is an all-of-the-above solution. We have not ruled out anything. We can't afford to rule out anything. But it has to be consistent with our economy. It has to be consistent with our environment. It has to be consistent with our goals and desires in terms of reducing carbon emissions and helping to protect the world. We are investing an enormous sum of money in terms of clean coal technologies and looking at ways that we can use what is our largest domestic energy resource. It is a resource that has been a very, very important part of our economy. There's thousands and thousands of people who are employed on a daily basis around coal. We're not going to change that overnight. So having and working with people who understand that and who are going to become places where we can demonstrate new technology, we can demonstrate new approaches, we can demonstrate the blending of fuels and transition, I think becomes very, very important.
We have time for maybe one or two more questions, and we have a question. College campuses are the perfect setting to showcase a sustainable campus. Could you describe what you believe MSU should look like in 2030 as a model for higher ed as a sustainable campus? This is for President Simon.
Well, I would like, if you think about a range of measures on the underlying model we have, we want to be able to do this in such a way that if you look at all the benchmarks as it relates to our carbon footprint per square foot, our energy consumption, our capacity to have really bent the cost curve, our ability to infuse this into the curriculum so it's not just a slogan, but that students can actually feel it and live it every day, and a robust research program that's at the forefront of all the technology changes that will be always needed to make sure that we can be successful. And we're a great partner with the United States, with Michigan, in finding a way to have this be an engine for growing the economy, not simply something that the economy pays for because of a set of values.
I guess one final question.
That's a good answer.
What is the plan, and this can actually for Paul and Linda, what is the plan to bring all MSU buildings up to the highest efficiency standards possible? And I know you've mentioned a few things, but are there other programs that you may not have mentioned already?
Sure. Commissioning is key. That's a vital program. Jason Valance is leading that program. Targeting the right buildings first. We've got a classroom consolidation effort going on, so we use our spaces smartly and consolidate and save energy where we can. We have the Energy Educator program going on. We're engaging with our IT community to really try to reduce all of the IT use on campus. That's one of those areas there's a lot of waste yet that we could really make some gains there. Smart growth, smart metering, and then tying use to the users in the buildings so they understand how much they're using. That's going to be important as we move along here as well. So all of these efforts, I really see us moving towards meeting that goal. We've exceeded it with commissioning in a couple of our buildings. We're seeing a 30% reduction rather than a 20% reduction. So we're moving in the right direction, and I'm excited about being part of the Better Buildings Challenge.
I think along with that, whatever the sort of the baseline number is, we want to see through ingenuity, invention, and partnership, including with many new and emerging companies, that we're going to be able to not simply meet that task, but to exceed it. And if we always see our goal as exceeding these numbers, and then we accept that we may just hit one, but we're going to try to always get over this with plenty of clearance and use the innovation spirit of the university and lots of companies. We've already got somebody sending us an idea for new plugs. So when we replace plugs when we do a residence hall, if you think about that, they have some new smart plugs instead of just dealing with smart metering that really ties this to the student behavior. That's a great idea probably for a company, but it's also a great idea for our students to be able to be educated in a different kind of world.
Well, that actually brings us to the end of the time. I know it's gone by quickly. So I'd like to thank everyone for attending the event, and whoever's viewing online, thank you for viewing online. This event has been recorded and will be available at energytransition.msu.edu for future viewing. And if we did not, we received several questions, and I really appreciate every single question that was sent to us via Twitter, in person, and in advance. And if we didn't get to the question today, we're posting all the questions and the answers answers online, again, at energytransition.edu. I'd like to also thank again our panelists, Dr. Luana Simon, Gil Sperling, Linda Boomer, and Paul Coops for their time today. And thank you, and this concludes our event.